Do you, what's your best guess for how many people were fighting you or attacking Keating?
I would say in between 1 to 200. Rough estimate.
Well, what do you think?
I would say about the same, 100 to 200 people, based on the sustained fight that we endured. It couldn't have been the everyday, average person attacking us.
When you, going back to what you said earlier about how the A&P notified you 8 to 9 minutes before, and they said that the Taliban were coming, do they refer to all gunmen as Taliban, or is this, were they specifically saying these guys are Taliban?
Pretty much everyone's Taliban. It's not distinguished. Even when the villagers report something, it's Taliban, and that's kind of just what we've learned to work off of. So when they say Taliban's coming, we know someone's coming to attack. If it's actually Taliban, I couldn't tell you. Mm-hmm. But all bad guys are referred to as Taliban.
How about, I know you said you saw 25 to 35 at first, so maybe, but what would you estimate, because you maybe had a better vantage point since their cameras were out?
I'd say the official estimation is somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 fighters that were in the valley. One of the primary reasons for the fight taking so long is it is an extreme terrain. It sits, the little valley sits right in the middle, right beneath a 12,000-foot mountain to the west, and then about an 11,500-foot mountain to the north, and they're tucked down right in the bottom of it. It's extreme terrain. There's a lot of rocks. There's a lot of cover, so you really can't detect the enemy until they start moving again.
How long have you been in Afghanistan?
I've been in Afghanistan 10 months.
10 months. Yeah, you also.
10 months.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were part of the group that had just been in here about 1 month. So you're familiar with this territory?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have also been here how long?
4.5 months now.
Okay. And
I've been here 2 months myself.
okay.
For the guys on the ground, is this the most serious firefight you've ever been in?
It is definitely
Absolutely.
the most serious firefight.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience throughout the day? Were you in talk the whole time? Did you go outside? As I understand it, everyone from Keating was eventually put into just one building. Everything on the base was taken over, and you were holed up in one spot. Was that in the talk, or where?
Yes, ma'am. Originally, when they had breached the wire, we ended up dropping back to a security perimeter of 2 buildings due to the fires that had started. One of the buildings we're in ended up catching on fire, so by about 1700, we were into 1 building. By then, we had good control of the situation, so we weren't too worried about it, but we were down to 1 building.
How many buildings are there?
I would say main buildings, I would say 5.
What do you mean by main buildings?
Our main living quarters, where we do our main operations from, 5 buildings that are concrete, hard structures. And then we have some reinforced buildings with sandbags, but our main 5 concrete buildings. We had our 3rd platoon up at O.P. Fritchie.
Tell me, okay, 12 hours passes and you repel the attack. What did Keating look like after that?
Different. I mean, it looked as you could expect for most of Keating to catch on fire. By the next morning, it was pretty much ash besides that 1 building. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. Most of it had burnt down. So we were pretty much at 1 building, and the rest was just a shadow of what it used to be.
What are your impressions?
After the aftermath, Cop Keating was completely changed. Like you said, almost all of the buildings had burned down. There were trees that were cut down, trying to save other buildings from catching fire, and then just remnants of a mass attack afterwards.
Trees were cut down by the continuing fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
The LZ was on fire, right?
No, ma'am.
Really?
The LZ, it was taking fire. It was not actually on fire. It was taking a lot of fire from all the fighters in the area. But it was not on fire, no.
If it's too difficult, then please don't. But could you just explain your role over the course of the day? Did you at some point leave the talk? Did you fire? Did you engage in combat? You know, what was your role over the course of 12 hours?
Okay.
Did it change dramatically throughout the day?
Over the course of 12 hours, like I said, myself and Lieutenant Bunderman, our job was basically to try to control the fight. So while Lieutenant Bunderman was taking the different guys on the ground and putting them in different locations, I was talking to the aircraft throughout the day, telling them where to engage, walking them onto different targets, let them know where we were taking fire from, basically controlling the different assets. Myself and Sergeant Suter, we kind of work as a team. So while he controls the indirect assets, I'll control the air assets, and that allows us to engage multiple targets at one time.
So were people coming in throughout the day to give you reports? Would they say, okay, this is what I just saw, you know, there's 20 people in this direction, or do you not talk to anyone except for
Certain people, we had radio communications with certain people throughout the COP. So when something that they seen out there on the ground needed to be engaged, they would report it to us, and we would basically take care of it from there.
From the air, what did it look like
During the engagement or after
Yeah.
the engagement?
during the engagement?
During the engagement, it was most of Cop Keating was burning, and it left about a half a mile visibility in the valley. And we could definitely tell that most of the buildings have been compromised. It took a while to actually distinguish which buildings they had been pushed to. We were taking a lot of fire from the surrounding area. We had a report that we were coming up that they were going to try to engage the quick reaction force aircraft or medevac birds as they came in. So one of our concerns, besides also engaging their targets, was to ensure that we didn't get engaged ourselves by positions that were set up for us.
You were in communication with them on the ground.
Yes, sir.